The challenge of a low-carbon transition, while vital for our planet, presents a pressing societal issue: energy poverty, specifically the heat or eat dilemma.
The heat or eat dilemma is a form of energy poverty. Basically, it's when a household has limited resources and then they need to choose whether they spend the resources in energy or food. So in the end, they cannot afford enough energy to live in comfortable conditions in their home, or they cannot spend enough in food in order to fulfill their nutritional needs.
The rising energy costs are leading to greater social inequalities, and that's why Gerard has devoted his research to taking apart the complex situation so that susceptibility can be mapped and acted upon.
I hope my research helps to find or to achieve a just energy transition for everyone.
For it to do so, it's necessary to understand the factors that are shaping a household's susceptibility, which is precisely what the Heat or Eat Risk Index provides. The index evaluates risk by looking at three critical dimensions:
regional systems, socioeconomic characteristics, and how your people are living.
Using geospatial data to evaluate cities on these dimensions reveals which cities and regions are most at risk of this dilemma and allows for them to take action accordingly.
So the first one is about regional systems. So you need to understand your energy systems, you need to understand your food systems, how they work, how they interact. There are a lot of factors considering that, but it is about understanding the resilience of your energy system. So you need to ensure that your source of energy, first of all, is suitable for your region, that you can keep the production of energy constant. There won't be disruptions, there won't be unexpected externalities that can impact on other households. So if there is a change in energy, if the prices increases, if there is a disruption, whatever happens, this might impact your food chain. Then it also depends on the amount of energy that you kind of depend on imports. The more local you generate your energy, the more dependent on yourself you are, which in theory is better because you are not tied to others' imports. But of course, keeping this balance, it's really important.
Energy accessibility is measured by the Energy Purchase Index, EPI, which estimates how much energy households can afford based on energy prices, expenditure, and average income. Regions like those in the Mediterranean, Spain, Italy, and Greece showed lower EPI, meaning less energy affordability. Resilience of energy systems. This looks at factors like the share of the main energy producer, energy imports, and renewable energy consumption to gauge how fragile a system is. Balkan countries, for instance, tend to have less resilient systems, while Scandinavian countries show higher resilience due to decentralized systems and high renewable energy shares. Food security. Capturing how increasing food prices can force trade-offs with energy, assessed by the Normalized Food Price Index. Balkan countries like Romania and Bulgaria show higher NFPI, indicating greater pressure on household food budgets. Aggregated, the regional dimension reveals that populations in Balkan and some Belgian regions are typically more exposed to system changes, whereas German and Danish regions are safer. Next, we delve into the socioeconomic and demographic dimension, which determines vulnerability based on individual household characteristics.
Then you need to know the socio-economical characteristics of your population. Unfortunately, there are a lot of structural problems in society, like, racism, discrimination, etc. I could keep naming them. But some people are really feeling these impacts and they have less resources only because they are what they are. I think this is a huge problem. Also, not really in a social way, but also institutionally. For example, people that are non-EU population, they might face more barriers if they want to access some subsidies, some other issues in European countries. This might cause also this kind of things.
Because not all population groups are equally susceptible to energy poverty. In his spatial analysis, Gerard has also included other vulnerable demographic groups beyond marginalized communities, Those include women, older adults, children, people with disabilities, and low-income individuals. Households with children, a tenancy status, or a non-EU background also face increased vulnerability. Geographically, regions in Croatia, Serbia, Greece, Spain, and Baltic countries are generally found to be more socioeconomically vulnerable. Finally, we examined the lifestyle dimension, which assesses vulnerability based on households' needs and preferences.
And then in the end, you need to understand how they live, so the lifestyle. So you can really understand if they really spend a lot in energy, if they spend a lot in food, if they spend a lot in other domains, because this can also might be. So the heat or eat dilemma is only an example, but there can be trade-offs with other sectors as well. So it can be that the public transport in your region is really expensive and then a lot of population need to commute. So if you consider people lifestyles, then it will be much easier to understand what are their needs. So you will actually target them better.
Balkan and Baltic countries show the most household types exceeding critical expenditure thresholds. Gerard brings these insights together through three dimensions: regional exposure, socioeconomic and demographic vulnerability, and lifestyle vulnerability, which he merges into the Heat or Eat Risk Index. A higher HERI score indicates a greater risk of households facing the heat or eat dilemma. This composite view reveals that a country like those in the Baltics may have favourable regional exposure, but still score high on the HERI due to socioeconomic challenges and less adaptable lifestyles. Gerard's HERI also highlights internal disparities within countries, often showing lower risk in metropolitan areas compared to rural ones, largely due to greater socioeconomic and demographic challenges. For policymakers, the HERI helps identify why a region's citizens are at risk, informing where efforts should be allocated.
You have a lot of different measures that you can use. Like, for example, for energy transition, you can go for installing a solar panel, or you can go for more industrial things. All of them will have different impacts on population. And then you need to understand or to know the people who are living in your region or in your city in order to pick the ideal ones. So if you implement something that produces more inequity, in whichever form it is, then maybe in the future it will be more difficult for you to keep going in this direction. I think it's about finding the perfect balance in your sources in order that you can keep like the system in kind of an equilibrium. I mean, yeah. Otherwise, if something happens, in the end are the citizens that are feeling the consequences. So,
by embracing this multidimensional understanding, policymakers can design more just and equitable climate responses, ensuring that the transition to a low-carbon society leaves no one behind in the face of the heat or eat dilemma.